We are back on Patriots 4th and 2. I am Russ Goldman. He is Brady Goldman. This is the new generation. Brady and I were at Patriots Training Camp last week, and in this episode, we're going to share our observations from camp. We are actually live on my X account, Brady, my Facebook account, and also on the Patriots 4th and 2 YouTube channel. And Brady, just like last show we did, we only have 5 subscribers. So can we get some more subscribers on YouTube?
Yeah,
That'd
let's
be
get
good,
more.
right?
Come on.
Can we get
We'll
6 or
subscribe.
7?
Oh, okay.
All right, Brady. Let's get to it. Before we share some details of what we saw, we went a week ago today. I thought that was a great day at camp, and I want to go through it. I want to mention something that was a little bit of a bonus. So if people are not familiar with Mike Riley is the public address announcer for the Revolution and the New England Patriots. He's also a friend of mine. So I want to give him a little bit of a shout out because as we're walking out of training camp, you saw me heading over there. And I said, I want to say hi to him. And I thought at first you were not crazy about me going over there just because.
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't sure who he was. But then when we finally met him, I'm like, oh my God, that's the Patriots PA announcer. Oh my God.
That's right.
It was awesome.
I've known Mike for about 12 or 13 years. And I came right up to us, shook our hands, wanted to speak to you, Brady. And because you are someone that wants to go into broadcasting, he spoke to you for a good 5 minutes. Just talk a little bit about meeting Sarge. His nickname is Sarge.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you make of meeting Sarge?
Yeah, I thought it was just great, meeting someone finally that like works in the industry. I never would have known who he was until meeting him, and I'm glad I do because I think that's just pretty awesome to get to meet someone like that. But yeah, I thought he gave some good advice. Experience is the key, and I'm glad we saw him. I'm glad we went to training camp because we saw a lot of good things and we saw a couple pretty bad things. We'll get to that later, but yeah.
That's true, Brady. Not everything was good, but we did see a good amount of good. We saw some bad. We'll probably end with the bad. But let's start with just your opening thoughts about being in training camp. Now, you've been going to training camp with me for years. It's been a while since we've gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually were standing basically in the end zone at the very cusp of the end of the end zone in back. What did you make of being there? What are your just observations in general of what we watched?
Yeah, I mean, again, there was a lot good. A couple standouts that I was pretty excited to see. Travion Henderson looked great. He had a huge juke move on Kyle Duggar, which didn't look good for Duggar, but looked really good for Travion Henderson. Kyle Williams also looked really good. Another rookie who I was really excited to see. And Drake May had some really good passes, and he had one to Stephon Diggs. I'm not sure if it was a touchdown. I don't remember, but Diggs especially looks really good for, coming off a torn ACL. He looks 100%, which, I mean, that's a huge win, especially if, going into the first preseason game, just being already healthy and practicing. I think that's really good. On the defensive side of the ball, it definitely looked pretty good. Actually, going back to the offensive side, I forgot to tell one thing that I noticed. Will Campbell, of course, a lot of people talking about it. He had a pretty up and down start to camp. He was criticized for only being a run blocker, which in normal circumstances that would be pretty good. But he is the number 4 overall pick after all, so I think you kind of got to get him, to be a good run and pass blocker. So the offensive line still looks a little bit questionable and shaky, but hopefully that will get patched up in the coming days. Going into this first preseason game, we'll really see what the O-line really looks like. So yeah, those are all my overall thoughts on what we saw.
Okay, it's funny because you basically stole my thunder. I'm going to tell you that my number one observation was Travion Henderson, because that move right in front of us, that was exciting. That was because you can just imagine, right? And those are good drills that we saw. We did not see, let's be honest, because I heard a lot of talk. We'll talk about Will Campbell coming up about the one-on drills with the offensive line and the defensive line. We didn't see it. That was way on the other part of the field. But we got a really good look at the running backs and the wide receivers. And
Yeah.
when we saw Travion Henderson, I looked at you and I said, "Oh, this could be something special." And then
Hmm.
he did it again. It
Yeah.
wasn't just one time. He did it a few times. Then we saw some other players try to do it. They just could not do it quite like him. He really stood out, Brady. Yeah, big
Hmm.
time. He stood out. I'm
Yep.
glad that you mentioned Kyle Williams. I told you, and you know this for a fact, I was not a fan of signing Diggs, but Diggs,
He's looked great so far. I mean,
he looked very
you
good.
can't argue.
I can't argue this. I cannot argue that everyone's right and I'm wrong on this one because so far so good on stuff on Diggs, at least what I watched with my own eyes. And that's the beauty of us going to training camp is that you're going to hear a lot of talk from people that have not even been down there. They don't know anything.
Hmm.
I will say that the great thing about Brady and I know it was a week ago, we were there and we could really talk about what we watched. And that's what we're going to be sharing in this show. And Brady, let's just get to it. Let's start with the wide receivers. We are talking about Diggs, but I'm glad that you mentioned Kyle Williams. I thought he played well. Kayshon Boutte, I
Yeah.
think had a couple of good passes, a couple
Yeah.
of good catches. And I'm trying to think of. We also had a sighting of Polk. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Jalen Polk, he made, I believe, a one-handed catch. He's at practice off the
Yes.
PUP. He's actually looked good, but there's just too many guys in front of him right now. It's definitely an uphill battle for the second-year wide receiver, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No. Again, seeing Polk out there was not something I was expecting, Brady.
Also,
But
Javon Baker, too. Let's talk about another
Javon Baker.
second-year wide receiver. He actually looked pretty all right, but, the skill set's there, but, he's got to put it all together. There's too many Patriots wide receivers on this roster right now that
Right.
theoretically could make the team. Mac Hollins also came off the PUP and was already with first-team reps. So I think the Patriots are thinking he's going to be a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5.
Yep.
So the question is, where does that leave Kendrick Bourne? Kendrick Bourne is kind of the odd man out in this equation
He
because
might be.
he's been with the Patriots the longest out of all these wide receivers, yet it seems like he's getting the least amount of attention. I mean, he's still on the field, he's still making good catches, but at this point, he might be a cut candidate. He's honestly just fighting to stay on this roster, which, he had such, a couple pretty good seasons. It's kind of sad to see, his downfall, but he's definitely, would love to still have him on the roster. He has leadership, he's a good character. But, at the end of the day, he could end up getting cut. And I think it's more realistic right now than really it ever has been before, even when he was in Matt Patricia's doghouse a couple years ago.
Right. No, good point there, Brady. And Kendrick Bourne is someone to watch. I also want to mention, I think a player that is going to be in the mix too is
Ethan
Eftham
Chisholm.
Chisholm.
Yeah, well, people have been saying actually that he's been underperforming in practice. He had a really good spring, but right now he's kind of, again, another odd man out, just fighting to stay on this roster. I think he's going to end up on the practice squad. He's not going to be
Yep.
on the opening day roster. I don't think he's going to be there week 1. But if a couple guys go down, I think maybe you can put him in. He's one of the Patriots' only true slot receivers that just play slot. People compare him to Julian Edelman. Edelman sat out his first couple years of the NFL and came in
He did.
2013, and he's on the ballot for the Hall of Fame next year. So worked out pretty well. You can't say the NFL without mentioning Julian Edelman. You just can't.
Very good there, Brady. All right, let's move now on to the running backs. We've already talked about Travion Henderson, but I want to mention I thought Ramondre looked pretty good there too, and I think the running backs in general. It was the first time that they were all in pads, so it was good to see them take on some hits.
Mhm.
What did you make of the running backs?
Yeah, I thought Stevenson looked pretty good. Other than the fact that not on the day that we saw, but of course on the scrimmage last Friday, he did have a fumble, which he has been struggling with the last couple years. So that's I still think a little bit concerning. But no, he still looks like the power back that he's been in years past. I think I liked him. Antonio Gibson too, I thought looked pretty okay. He had some good touchdown
I'm glad you
passes in the
mentioned
red
that.
zone or touchdown catches. Yeah, Gibson, I hope will still be a factor. It'll definitely be Stevenson, Henderson, and Gibson as your 3 running backs. The question is, who's the number 2? I think right now it probably will go to Henderson just because he's just been flashing a lot. But I could understand if he's the number 3 just because he's a rookie. Mike Vrabel wants the players to kind of earn their spot, but we'll see. I like all the running backs on the roster, and I think there's really nothing wrong with them so far. And that's the 3 guys who will definitely be there week 1.
So I think it's going to be Antonio Gibson, but I do like what I've seen from Trevion Henderson. And Brady, I don't know if you realize this, but James White's first season with the Patriots, I don't even think
Yeah.
he played.
Yeah. Was it 2014?
Yeah, no,
2014,
yes,
2015, one of those
yeah,
years. Yeah, he
he
was
he
pretty inactive.
he didn't play, and the same thing happened to Shane Vereen when he first started
Hmm.
at running back. It's almost like they go through this maturation process. I
Well, I
think
mean,
the
that's
wide
the
receivers,
running back position in 2025. They're
well, it's
easily
different.
replaceable.
They are. They totally are. But I think Trevion Henderson's going to play a lot this year, but only time will tell. All
Hmm.
right. The big question going into the beginning of the season will be the development of Drake May. And at the end of the show, we're going to talk about what we watched from 11 versus 11, Brady. But just in general, what did you make of Drake May in this training camp practice?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked pretty good. He definitely had a couple crappy passes that he kind of threw in the dirt. But other than that, he had some really accurate passes, as I said, to Stephon Diggs. He had a good one to Booty, I remember. He's still as mobile as ever, so he can still scramble. Of course, they weren't really doing that yet, but he still has that potential. He looks like the leader that the Patriots really need, and I'm happy that he's taking that initiative. He's taking that leadership. Of course, I love that, in the offseason, he had all these workouts with a lot of the Patriots players. And I think that's really coming to show in his play right now. He just looks professional. That's really not something we could say about Mac Jones or even last year's Drake May. He just looks like the Patriots starting quarterback with how he plays. I mean, nothing but good things to say. Of course, on the scrimmage on Friday, he did throw 2 interceptions after
That's
not
right.
throwing a single pick all of camp. So that's a little bit concerning. One of them wasn't really his fault. It was kind of Diggs bobbled it, but the other one was also a pick 6, and that was to Alex Austin. That wasn't that great, but I still like where he's going, and he's going to be pretty good this year.
I'm hopeful, Brady. And one of the reasons why I'm so hopeful has to do with watching him run the Tom Brady offense. Let's call it what it is. It's the Patriots offense with Josh McDaniels. And I could see it's going to take time for him and the players to all get in sync with each other. It's not an easy offense to learn. But I think over time, it's only going to benefit him. He will have to do things quicker, faster,
Hmm.
make quick decisions. And I think we saw some of that from him. I saw confidence with Drake May in the pocket. Like I said, we'll talk about the 11 versus 11, but ultimately the Patriots' future overall is in the hands of Drake May and his development. And I'm feeling okay with how he's coming along running that Patriots offense. We saw a lot of red zone stuff, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I thought, again, solid performance from what we watched. But as you mentioned, Brady, we were at dinner at Patriot Place, and we got the report from the in-stadium practice, and it wasn't great. But listen, it's still practice. Tom Brady had bad practice. I can tell you how many bad practice Jimmy Garoppolo had and then played well
Hmm.
in the games. There's only so much you can take out of it. If you see development, that's a bigger thing because Allen Iverson said it's just practice, and
Hmm.
that's what it is. It's just practice. And talk about practice, Brady. After we left, driving home, I heard all this talk about Will Campbell. Now, we did not see the one-on-one drills, defense versus offensive line. We didn't see the defensive line go against the offensive line. We didn't see that. We saw the wide receivers and the running backs and the secondary. That's what we saw. But what I saw, and I'll go first on this, when it was 11 versus 11, solid, extremely solid. And a lot of it was running, a lot of it was run blocking, but I didn't see any faults in the passing game. He looked
Hmm.
solid to me. Now, since then, there's been a lot of talk about his play. I'm only telling you what I saw. And what I saw was a player starting his career at left tackle and did not look out of place.
Hmm.
Like I said, one practice. What did you make of Wickham? Because I got to be honest with you, I was watching him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked pretty solid. He is a 4th overall pick.
A
There
lot of
were some
scrutiny.
Yeah, there was a lot of reports that he was being burned by Keon White, and I think what is it, Kavion Chasen? People
Yep.
are saying that he's going to have the best defensive season of all time if this keeps going up with Will Campbell. He's kind of struggling a little bit, but I think he looked pretty good. I don't think there's really much worry. I think by week 1, he'll have it all figured out. Yeah, I don't really get the whole media scrutiny that's going on. I think he's looked pretty fine. And even if he's a good run blocker, I mean, that's still something that you really need. But he should be a good pass blocker and, should provide some stability to this offensive line. So I thought he looked pretty good. And yeah.
Okay, so I just want to share a little commentary on basically what I watched. I've already mentioned that. But Brady, we have been inundated with agenda-driven talk on Will Campbell. Short arms, the whole talk was
Yeah.
about the short arms. I have told you Matt White had the same stature as him. It's a load of crap. I truly believe that. Can it be a detriment in certain situations? Possibly. But I think overall, he play? He played against the best of the best in the SEC and kept his quarterback
Barely allowed a
pretty
sack.
safe, right? So for me, that speaks volumes. Can he
Hmm.
do it in the NFL? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. If he can do it in the SEC, it's basically a prerequisite to going in the NFL, Brady.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have faith that he'll be our left tackle of this year and in the future. I'm not buying the negativity because they're looking for storylines and they're pushing it and
Mhm.
pushing it. And I'm just going based on what you and I watched. And I saw none of the negativity that has been talked about him since.
Yeah, I mean, like to add that during the stadium scrimmage on Friday, there were some reports that Will Campbell actually looked pretty good. So if that's in a kind of a real situation, I don't think there's much to worry about because if he can hold his own in basically a simulated game, why can't he do it in a real one? I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Right. And listen, we're going to see that coming soon because obviously the Patriots will be playing the Commanders on Friday. And then, of course, we have the practices with the Commanders starting
yeah.
Wednesday. So we're going to learn more about him. But I'm just telling everyone, do not go by what you're hearing. Go by what you see when you see him play. Watch him a little bit. You
Yeah,
make your own judgment. That's
and I
my
like
thoughts
I like
on it.
that you mentioned that he played in the SEC. He's not coming from some FCS school. He didn't play at North Dakota State or South Dakota or Villanova or anything. He
He's
came
not
from
Trey Lance,
LSU.
Brady. He's not Trey
Yeah,
Lance.
he's
Remember
not
Trey
Trey
Lance?
Lance. He has experience. He has played against 300-pound monsters, 6'6", coming at him, and he again barely allowed a sack in college.
Yeah.
Why can't that translate to the NFL? I don't get it. And
It
it's
it
it
it can,
can.
Brady. It can,
Yeah.
Brady. It's going to translate. It's just a matter of him learning the game of the NFL. He's a rookie. So what you're going to see, and you're going to see mistakes. Even Greg Bernard of all people talked
Yeah.
about that.
I think
And
people are just putting pretty big expectations on him, which is fine because he is,
it's
the
fine.
number 4 overall pick. Patriots don't want to be picking at that point again next year. So
Yep.
there's a lot of pressure on him, but I think he'll be fine.
It comes with being a number one first round draft pick, Brady.
Also, first offensive lineman taken off the board
Yep.
too.
Yep. It comes with that. Okay. I get all that. And it's happened to many Patriots players that were drafted in the first round. I'll give you a couple names that were doubted in their career. Devin McCourty,
Hmm.
slamming Devin McCourty. I'll even go all the way back to Vince Wilfork, Brady, because Vince Wilfork was learning a new way to play defense. He
Yep.
was more of an attacking nose tackle. He was being asked to read and react in the Patriot system. It turned out to be a perfect fit, but it took him a while, and he was under scrutiny. Player after player have been, when they've been drafted in the first round, even Gerard Mayo had to deal with it a little bit. But
Yep.
Gerard Mayo stood up and was very good his first season, but he was under scrutiny. It comes with being that pick. They're looking, I'm talking about the media here, and you could say some of the fans looking for the faults to say they got it wrong.
Yeah.
Wait and see on Will Campbell. I think he's going to prove us all right, Brady. All right.
I hope so.
Coming up next, Brady and I are going to talk about an injury we saw, and we're going to end with our thoughts on Mike Vrabel and what we watched on 11 versus 11. All right, Brady, let's just talk about this. We actually saw a touchdown pass from Drake May to Stephon Diggs. I thought it was actually really a
Yeah,
great.
back corner of the end zone.
It was really nice, right? And
Hmm.
then you heard me probably go, "Oh no, oh no," because right in front of us, I saw Christian Gonzalez come up limp, and it did not look good at first. It didn't look good. It looks like it's a hamstring, which always
Yep.
gets me nervous, Brady, because I've said this to you, and I've talked to many people that know these things. Soft tissue injury, it can be extremely preventable
Hmm.
because
Stretch
it
more.
comes. If you stretch more, you should not have hamstring injuries. Simple. You
Hmm.
should not have but he did. He came up limp. And what was going through your mind when you watched what we saw?
Well, he got off under his own power and he was walking to the medical area. So I thought that was pretty good. It's not like he needed to be helped off the field. He was just walking pretty gingerly. There's, reports that, the hamstring strain and the fact that he should be able to go week 1, which is pretty fine. At least it's not, like a long-term injury. So he should be back. Moving on to another injury,
Yep.
Carlton Davis also getting injured on the same day.
Yep.
Your first two, your number one, your number two wide receivers getting hurt is not a good omen for what's to come in the season. I heard that he should also be fine for week 1. Both of them are not going to practice this week and not
That's
play
right.
against the Commanders, which is again a little concerning because you need to get ready for the season. You got to be practicing a lot. But as long as they're ready for week 1, I'm not really too concerned about it. Hey, as long as they have at least Christian Gonzalez by week 1, I think we'll be fine. But they should realistically have both of them. And, they're both not long-term injuries, so there's not too much to worry about, but it is still a bit concerning to see this early in training camp.
I totally agree, Brady. Hey, shout out to all the people watching live with us. We've got 114 people watching live with us, Brady. Pretty good.
There you go.
That's pretty good. So thank you, everyone that's watching live. And please do, if you get a chance, you want to hear more, please download the podcast later and watch us on
Sub to the
YouTube.
YouTube channel. We need 10 subscribers, please.
Yes, we need to get to 10.
While you guys are here.
Okay. All right, Brady. A couple more items on the docket. Let's talk about our observations of 11 versus 11. I think we talked about the one that stood out the most for me was the touchdown pass, but I want to just share some other things. This is all red zone work that we were watching. And the big thing that really stood out to me was the running, the run plays. They were really pushing the running plays. And they were in pads, but they only stopped they only hit to a certain extent.
Yeah.
What stood out from you
Two-hand
from
touch.
11 versus 11?
Yeah, so the offensive line still looked, to be honest, a little bit shaky. There were definitely a couple plays where if it was a real game, Drake May would have gone down very easily with the sack. Keon White he's been having a really good camp, so that's definitely good to see. But, seeing the offensive line, they're trying a whole bunch of combinations. They just got Garrett Bradbury back, so he should be your center. But, they've been, slotting everybody in. I heard Verdadrian Lowe came back off the PUP.
Yep.
He was with the third team, though, so hopefully he stays away from that first team. But, yeah, overall, it just looked a lot more organized, really, just 11v11s than past seasons. I know we haven't really been since 2021 when the Patriots still had Belichick and McDaniels.
Yeah.
But, from what I heard, the last couple seasons, it's been a mess. Like, practice has looked, really bad.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah, Vrabel just seems a lot more, hands-on, and it seems to flow really nicely. There wasn't really anything bad that was going on. There was actually, I think we saw a little bit of a scuffle at one point. There's some guys fighting, but as long as it's for the love of the game, Vrabel likes the tough guys, so maybe that's why. But yeah, it just looked pretty smooth, I'd say, other than the offensive line. Drake May looked sharp. The receivers looked pretty good. Even Jalen Polk, he looked pretty good. And there's honestly a case for all these receivers to make the roster. I don't think, except only maybe Stephon Diggs is the only one I'd say that's locked in for like a roster spot.
Yeah.
Maybe Pop Douglas, but yeah, I'd say receivers all looked really good. The defense was looking pretty solid. There's definitely room for improvement. But yeah, I thought, it was for the, 30 minutes that we saw, it was pretty good. Even 7-on-7s looked pretty all right. But,
Yep.
again, that offensive line has just got to be figured out before week 1. If the Patriots have, my biggest fear for this upcoming season is that the Patriots offensive line is the thing that holds them back yet again, because they have a really big opportunity to break through, become this year's Commanders. Yeah, that's just my biggest fear, but hopefully that doesn't happen. So yeah.
Well, I will just share this about the offensive line, Brady, is that an advantage that they're going to have this season from the last couple of seasons is that they're not going to be asked to block as long because of the style of offense that they
Yeah,
run.
quick
It's
passes.
it's more quick passing. So I think that's going to protect the offensive line. Tom Brady didn't have what I would call a stellar offensive line his entire career.
Yeah,
He
most of it,
actually worked
to
with
be honest.
a lot of ham and eggers. I hate to go
Yeah.
down there. He did. But you know what? They were good enough. And I think they will be good enough once again. And the style of offense should help them. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Brady, to end the show, you already talked a little bit about Mike Vrabel. And I'm glad that you talked about this because it's one of the things that stood out for me as someone that has gone to so many training camps. And I watched the training camps, the last couple, even one of the last ones with Belichick, it just didn't flow as well they did 10, 15 years ago. And this brought me back to that. This training camp, it was very smooth. And Mike Vrabel was involved. Mike Vrabel, you're asking me where he is.
Yeah, he was on the field the
He
whole
was
time.
actually on the field the entire time. He
Yep.
was heavily involved. Hands-on is what I would say. He was very involved.
Yep.
So for me, it reminded me of the Patriots that won the 6 Super Bowls. I'm talking about the way they practice, because the way you practice can help you in the way that you actually play. So if you have a smooth professional practice and you practice well, it will show up in the games. And it's a very positive sign. I was down there a couple of years ago, and it did not look like this. It looked very disjointed. This looked very together. And that to me is a credit to Mike Vrabel. And I like the fact that he was heavily involved in the practice. All right, Brady. Good show. Good show, Brady.
Great one. Nice and short.
Nice and short. Before we go, any final thoughts? And then we'll wrap up this show.
Yeah, excited for the preseason game. I can't believe I'm saying that I'm excited for a preseason game, but the Tom Brady statue being unveiled, probably
That's
the
right.
most people that will ever be at Gillette Stadium for a preseason game. That's going to be pretty cool. There's been reports that he's going to be in attendance, which is also awesome. But, we'll get to see what the offensive line looks like. Most importantly, what Drake Mays looks like. He's probably only going to play one series, which is good. We don't want to overdo it. Hopefully nobody gets hurt because, that's also a big factor in these preseason games. Just, don't make the workload too much on the players. Right. But yeah, overall training camp, for the one day that we were there, looked pretty good. I really liked, the red zone work that they were working on. That looked pretty good. I mean, besides the fact that it was kind of actually like 50-50 in terms of, if the player caught the ball at the corner of the end zone, there were a lot of tough passes that, some of them were on Drake May, some of them were on the wide receiver. But, those are pretty tough catches anyways. So I like what I saw in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, it's just a whole lot more, it flows much better than it used to. And yeah, that's basically all I got to say about it.
Okay. Very good there, Brady. I will just say just overall, just training camp in general, it was just great to be back. I'm looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to doing these shows with you. Like I said, first preseason games coming up, and we'll learn something from it. But I'm hopeful, Brady. I'm hopeful that
Yeah, me too.
the Patriots have turned a corner and are headed in the right direction. It's been horrible the last few years, but one of really nice things is that I can do a show with you and we can talk about it positively and negatively. We can rip into them when they deserve it, but we'll give them praise when they deserve it as well. And
Well, that'll
that's
happen.
what
Both of that will happen this season.
both of that, both of the, yep, both the two sides of the coin, Brady, the two sides of the coin. All right. Well, we are going to wrap up this show. For Brady Goldman, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching Patriots 4th and 2, the new generation.